Hello and welcome into the NFL trade deadline day frenzy. Hopefully it's a frenzy for the New York Jets. What's going on? I am Matt O'Leary, and today I am joined by my good buddy Nick, aka Proud NYJ fans. What's going on, my man? How
What's
are
up,
you?
man? Thank you for having me, man. It was fun yesterday on my channel, and it's exciting today so far. No Jets moves, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot going on Jets Twitter right now. We'll keep you updated on everything going down. We'll be refreshing Twitter to see what's happening in the final 30 minutes and then react to whatever does or doesn't happen. I was on with Nick yesterday, so be sure to check out that video as well. Is it NYJ fan? Proud NYJ fans, the actual link itself? Give that out.
It's Proud New York Jets fans
Yeah.
on YouTube. We have a Facebook group. You can find me on YouTube, but yeah, I shortened it for here. But if you search "Proud New York Jets fans" on Google, you see my handsome face popping up when the beard was much more fuller.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on, man. This is great.
Yeah, it's gonna be hopefully a fun time. As I'm sure you, Nick, and everyone watching this simultaneously is refreshing Twitter at the same time and looking for moves to happen. The latest from Ian Rappaport: the Bills add Rasul Douglas, defensive back. So they obviously had some corner issues with some injuries. So they add Rasul Douglas, a former Packer, now Buffalo Bill, as the latest.
Nice little move for them, right? With White going down, they need some depth there. They addressed Fournette yesterday.
Yeah, Fournette yesterday. That happened a lot when we were live on your show, and now we got this news. I think the one that stirred up Jet fans the most right now is Ezra Cleveland. So Vikings trade standout guard Ezra Cleveland to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It ends up being a 6th round pick going back to Minnesota for this. Robert Saleh said yesterday that he didn't expect offensive linemen to get traded. And today, a starting caliber offensive guard gets traded for a 6th round pick. I don't know about you, Nick, but that would have been something I would have been all over, I think.
You got to wonder if they do the trade out of conference thing, right?
Yeah.
Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings.
To the Jaguars. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I was checking Twitter. My apologies.
No, you're good. Vikings to the Jaguars. Yes, NFC to AFC, no matter how you slice it. It's, I'm not saying this guy's, going to come in and be AVT, but he has a ton of starting experience under his belt. He's a good run blocker, which, we know the Jets' identity. They want to run the football. Feels like something that would make sense.
The only thing I can think of is, and hope for, I'm very positive, Joe Douglas has something else in the works.
Yeah, I'm glad I have you on because you are one of the more positive Jet fans that I know. So I need you to talk me off the ledge or walk me back a little bit here. And I'm sure people in the chat are going to need that as well. What do you think? You see the 49 Dan, our favorite resident Dolphins fan, is in the chat. You see the 49ers traded for Chase Young. That defensive line is going to be just straight up nasty.
Did you see the compensation? They
used
the pick, the comp pick for McGlinchey.
Really? Right? Was that what it was?
It's the third. I think it's a 3rd round comp.
Okay.
Now, if they lose Young and they don't extend him, they get a 3rd round comp. So it's basically a loaner for nothing.
Yeah.
And if they extend Young, great. You got Young and Bosa. You're stacked at the edge.
Right. And
you're not, you're like, all right, no big deal. We tried. We had him. We tried. He went somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. But this is a year where you're going for it, right? You have Hargrave in the middle and Armstead in the middle on the interior. And that's a really damn good defensive line, man. And that's going to make life significantly easier for that defense. And, obviously it's a great defense as is, but still the rich get richer today. That's what it feels like as we continue to look for, hopefully the Jets do so. I like this one from Vinster, 2 first-rounders for Tommy DeVito. What are we thinking?
Giants going to sell him off that cheap? I mean, he improves our run game drastically.
Oh, God.
Run the pistol with him and Zach in the backfield with Breece Hall set out wide. There you go. That's the new running attack.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the move. It's, a day where the NFL guys are getting sold off, guys are getting traded for. I guess we'll start who the Jets should trade. Is there anyone on this roster, whether it be on the offense or on the defensive side of the ball, where you're thinking, Nick, like maybe the Jets can move off of this player? Carl Lawson's a name that's got brought up a ton. You think they're trading anybody here in the next half hour?
You got to want the player, right? It's not just us giving them away. What has Lawson put on film this year that a team is going to say, we need to get that guy? He's going to help us. He doesn't look himself. And now it's not Madden, right? It takes two teams to pull this off. And when you look at what Carl Lawson hasn't done this year, he doesn't look explosive. He's not really getting pressures. He's not getting in the backfield. He's on par with Michael Clemens. Like, he's just trying to bull rush guys, and it's not there. Like, he can't get around them. It takes a team to want that, and I don't see it. I'd be shocked if Joe Douglas getting rid of him based off his performance this year would be one of Joe Douglas's magic tricks, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I don't know why, especially when you have like Chase Young and Montez Sweat got traded today. Like, there are better options out there over Carl Lawson. Supposedly, like, there are rumors the Browns, the Raiders had interest. Even the Vikings, apparently there was some interest there. But I don't know. I would kind of be, like you said, I'd kind of be surprised if a team does make a move at this point with some of the other names that are being floated out there, even if it's like something similar to a pick swap in next year's draft, like it's a sixth and Carl Lawson in 2025 for, a 2025 fifth rounder. I still think you do that just because, one, you're going to have him sit and be inactive anyway. You're not going to play him. And two, that opens up an opportunity now for Will McDonald, someone you took in the first round, maybe get a better look at.
There's a comment in the chat from Haskell 420. An hour ago, San Francisco insider accounts say that they were talking to there you go. They were talking about Lawson, but San Fran wanted the Jets to pay most of his contract. Then they traded for Young.
Young, yeah. Interesting. Okay, I missed that one. I did not see that. That would have been, I mean, what a pivot from them, going from potentially bringing Carl Lawson to, oh no, they're actually going to get Chase Young. And I get it, like, Young probably hasn't lived up to the billing of a second overall pick most of the time because he's missed, a lot of time the last 2 years before this, but guy could still play. He's, 24, 25 years old, and, only you would think ascending at this point.
Yeah. That's like 49ers are like, thank you, right? They should be thanking the Jets. Like, all right, we turned elsewhere and made it happen.
Yeah. And then I guess we'll go on the offensive side of the ball before we get into guys who the Jets could potentially trade for. Do you think they move off of either Dalvin Cook or Michael Carter? Would you? What's your take on that?
I think Cook is the same as Lawson, right? Like, somebody's got to want that. And I know he's got some 8-9 yard runs, only a couple, right? Less than a handful of 8-9 yard runs up the middle. He doesn't look explosive. And then you got the money. Someone's probably going to want to, if we said no to eating some of Lawson's money, we're probably going to say the same thing about Cook, right?
Yeah.
I think Carter would pique more interest because of the youth. I know he's dropped some passes. He's picked up it's like he picked up in his pass protection and then dropped in his catching ability. Like, it didn't, like, he took from one and gave the attribute to somewhere else. But I think Carter, as the younger guy, would gauge some interest. And I'll be honest with you, I want to see Izzy. Like, we need one of these guys to move to get Izzy to the active roster. Like, Izzy's speed flying through the hole outnumbers what both of these guys can do. And in this scheme, in this system, it's plant and go. I'd rather see the guy who can go.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to see Izzy. So for me, like, I almost selfishly, I don't care in a way which one they decide to move off of. If it's Dalvin Cook or Michael Carter, just kind of whatever it takes to get Izzy up into the lineup. I think he's ready. I do agree that I think Carter is more desirable because of his age. He's cheaper as well. So I would think that's probably the direction that they would go. We got a first super chat of the day. Thank you, Pooch Guy, for coming in and supporting. Goes, Big Nothing Burger from JD. How do you pass on the guard from the Vikings? Position of need and a young player for cheap. Unacceptable. Hard to believe they are truly all in and sit on their hands. Nick, what do you think about Pooch Guy's comment here?
Give me 19 minutes. let's like I said, let's see. Maybe Joe's got something else in the works, and that happened while he's working on something else.
Yeah,
So I don't
I
want to
like
jump
that.
the gun and bash anybody, and then all of a sudden we pull off a better move.
It looks tough right now. Is what I
Agreed.
was saying. It looks bad with 20 minutes to go. It looks tough right now. If he then goes out there and trades for, insert guard or center, whatever here, then we go, okay, we forget about that and say they were going in a different direction. But just isolating at that one move, there's only been one offensive lineman traded today, and it's someone that a lot of Jet fans had circled because he was someone who's available, starting experience, is a really good run blocker, has played pretty well this year too. Is coming back and is healthy now with the foot. I think it's something that would have made sense, and especially at that price too. I think the price is what gets it, because really, a sixth rounder or offensive line depth. I think you're taking the offensive line depth every single time.
Especially when Salah said, offensive linemen don't become available.
Yeah, and then one does a day later.
And then, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, okay. I know it's in season, but do you guys talk?
Really tough. Let's go next up here. Abbott 03. I'm not going to jump to conclusions yet, but after a 12-year playoff drought, when you're right in the mix, you don't add to this offense. It's a problem. I'm there. If nothing gets done, I'm going to be upset. I really, really am hoping something comes across the board in the next 20 minutes, because I'm with it. They have the longest active playoff drought in the sport. They're close. They are right there. They're in the mix. It's clear that their young quarterback needs help, whether you want to give him help on the offensive line or with the wide receiver, just something. And if there was ever a time to kind of push your chips in and say, all right, we're going to really try to do this thing, it feels like now would be the time.
You're right. You're right. One of the thoughts popping in my head, I always try to look at the other side. I'm not looking at I'm not looking at we didn't. I'm thinking, why didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Tippmann is going to get cleared. Maybe, Newman wasn't bad. Maybe you put Tippmann center, Newman guard. Maybe they like what they have in house. Maybe there's good news coming from Tippmann. I don't know. I'm throwing darts at the board here, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to throw out ideas that are outside the box to maybe calm the waters, because I see it starting to get rough in the chat. Yeah. I see you're getting tense right now. I'm
antsy, man. I got you on my left screen. On my right screen, I got Twitter going. So I'm keeping, if something happens, I'll pop it up on.
Well, forget looking at me. I'm not that important. Forget me. Do everything else. Navigate the waters, brother.
Perfect. Yeah. But let's do this. Let's get into players you'd like to see the Jets target that are still available. Is anyone out there that you'd like to see the Jets make a move on here?
I know I don't think Devontae Adams is happening. I know, like, I'm going to eliminate the big names that everyone's been talking about, right? Like Donovan Peoples-Jones just got traded out of Cleveland. There was a name that people brought up. I don't want Renfrow. If you watched the game last night, Troy Aikman absolutely lit him up. He's got no separation. When he does get there, he's not catching them. He's like, I don't know if he fell out of grace. He spent like 30, 40 seconds torching Renfrow. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'm out. I don't want that after that. You know what I mean? This guy watches the film of everyone coming into the games, and he absolutely lit him up. So I got to eliminate that one. I don't think that's gonna help us.
I'm with you there, by the way, on Renfrow. He would be a little bit further down my list. I think it's still probably an upgrade over some of the things that they have here at that spot, but he doesn't really do it for me either. But yeah, any other wide receivers that are jumping out to you?
No, and I commented on your video earlier today before we spoke. And I said, I think if we do make a move, it's not going to be a name that we've all had pegged. It's going to be like Joe pulls something like a magician, like he pulls somebody out of the hat that we weren't expecting, we weren't targeting, they weren't rumored to be available, and Joe can make something happen. So I'm hopeful for it. I'm hopeful for it because I see the South Park angry mob already getting ready to I see them all lining up.
Yeah, it's coming. There's two teams that are jumping out that seem like they could be in sell mode, and that is the Bears and the Commanders. So Darnell Mooney, maybe that's somewhere you could potentially go.
Yeah. But then the Bears bought. They
Yeah,
traded
that's
for
true.
Sweat. They bought. They got 110 million available next year.
Yep.
They need some pieces to get long term, and now they get a jump on negotiating with Sweat before he hits the market.
Free agency. Yeah, that was
So
smart. I like that move for them. I know a lot of people were critical of it, giving up a second rounder. I kind of liked it for them, to be honest. And with Washington, like I would love McLaurin, but I don't know how likely that is. But even if you take Samuel or Dotson, like again, those are
yeah,
just guys who are professional wide receivers and would be instantly slot in as your second or third
yeah,
best receiver on this team.
yeah. Samuel's hurt. He's got something with the foot. I don't know how bad. He's on my fantasy team, so I got the alert.
Okay.
Further testing needs to be done, so that might squash anything getting done today, right? Like if it was another week,
Yeah, that
it
would
could
be
be
tough.
helpful, but you don't want to agree to a trade pending a physical, and then he fails the physical, you miss the deadline and you fall flat on your face and you look bad, right?
Yeah, that's not ideal. Let's go out to Patrick says, I
Yeah.
do understand not making a big splash. However, I don't understand not making small moves for O-line pieces when you are 4-3 and down to your third stringers. Just losing mentality. Well, I I will say outside of the Ezra Cleveland trade, I don't know if there's options that could be had via the trade. Maybe they could still add someone in free agency, like Lyle Collins is a name they've talked about a ton. Maybe I mean on your show yesterday we talked a lot about Ben Jones, the center who was with the Titans for a really long time. He has concussion problems, but maybe you get him out and he's good to go. You add him to the mix, but just something like again, would we have loved the Devontae Adams, a big name trade? Of course, yes, that would be so much fun. But even a minor addition on either the line or the wide receiver room, I think would have been extremely welcomed by this fan base.
Yeah. The thing with Jones, I mean, Jones had the concussions. Jones had teams reaching out to him in the summer, and he didn't sign anywhere. So it's a big red flag for me. Plus, he was never in a camp. He's not game shape. Now you're looking at a guy who needs a couple weeks to acclimate, and we might be getting people healthy back by the time he's ready to go. I don't know if he's been training. I haven't heard anything about that, but I mean, he's got the history with the offensive line coach. I mean, it's worth making a call saying, hey, you got any interest?
There we go. City Burt chimes in and says, how about Hollywood Brown? The Arizona Cardinals traded away Dobbs earlier today, so maybe they're selling. Would you kick the tires on Hollywood Brown at wide receiver?
Yeah, he can get separation. He's a guy who's got speed. He can get downfield. He can create separation. Um, you're not getting a 1A wide receiver from anybody, but you got to find somebody who fits what you do, and you got to look at it this way too. You got to plan for a potential Rodgers return. So somebody like that with Rodgers, the value goes way up, right? You're
Yeah,
buying low, and the stock will go up when Rodgers comes back.
yeah, on Hollywood Brown, I don't think he's a number one receiver, and I know a lot of people give pushback on it. Oh, he's overrated. He's this or that, but I mean, he does have an 1,000-yard receiving season 2 years ago. He had 709 yards last year in a bad offense, and this year in a bad offense, 416 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like he's 26 years old. I get it. He's a first-round pick. There was a lot of hype around him, but can he just come in and be a guy who can get open and a deep threat down the field? I know that this offense is a little bit more on the conservative side right now, but he also offers them something down the field that they don't really have right now.
Yeah, yeah. Gibson's still raw. Cobb is ineffective. Adding another guy that can get open in space can't hurt, because I don't even want to put a kibosh out there, but if there are any of our top who can't perform in a game, I don't even want to say the I word. If there's
Yeah.
anyone who can't show up on a Sunday, we're in serious trouble. I mean, we got some offensive questions as is with our skill guys healthy right now. So we can't afford to hit anywhere.
Absolutely.
So adding another talent to the room can only help and be a nice insurance policy.
Hey, Bat's back. He says, any wide receiver is better than Cobb right now. Let him park Rodgers and Hackett's cars at Floral Park. He's kind of like a glorified wide receiver coach at this point. The drop rate was at 40%. He did have, we'll give him credit. He did have a nice catch on the 2-point conversion against Philadelphia. So I appreciate that. But he should not be your third wide receiver. He was brought in to be like this team's fifth or sixth wide receiver. And at the time, I was like, okay, fine. Like, whatever. It's Randall Cobb. If, that's what Aaron Rodgers wants as wide receiver 5 or 6, you can do a lot worse than that. But as wide receiver 3, big difference.
I feel like that 2-point conversion was his Stephen Hill 2-touchdown game against Buffalo. And that's all we'll say.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was his moment. He took the hit. He spun in midair like a ninja and held on to the ball. And I'm like, all right, thank you for that. Yeah,
that's it. Thank you for your service. It helped secure a win, and right back to the bench, or right back to being active. Haskell 420 says, every notification, I hope it's Rappaport and Schefter, and get excited because I hope it's about the Jets. And when I see it's not, my heart sinks. Yeah, the biggest one for me was Ezra Cleveland, because I saw the picture, the graphic pop up, and I was like, oh, here we go, offensive lineman. And then it was like, trade 2, #J. And I was like, oh, and it was Jaguars. Like, shit, come on, we were right there. Frustrating stuff. But yeah, now less than 10 minutes to go.
And don't forget, for the chat and then, for us as well, it takes a couple minutes to process it and get out. So don't put the deadline at 4. And there might be some trades that leak out a couple minutes thereafter by the time they get the paperwork in and actually process it.
Exactly, which is why I wanted to start this at 3:30. We're not cutting right off at 4. We're going to go. We'll probably hang out for about an hour or so on here, react to, news as it comes in. Right now, with 7 minutes to go, it's been a quiet day for the New York Jets so far. Antonio wants Mike Evans. I would love Mike Evans, but I don't think the Buccaneers are going to sell him off in a year where they've been like relatively competitive. I know they've dropped a couple games, but that division's wide open too.
They can compete. Yeah, they can definitely compete for the division. And as much as we might want the guy, why would the Bucs trade him? He's a legendary Buccaneer. I know he's in the last year of his contract, but both have said they want to stay there. They want him. He wants there. I think it's a little too big wishful thinking.
Yeah, I agree with that. Blitz Crew chimes in, goes 91 likes with 744 watching. Hit the milk thumbs. So if you don't know what the milk thumbs are, Green Bean, the legend, I'll see him later tonight. Make sure to tune into that from 8 to 10. Myself, Ryan, and Green Bean, the Talking Jets panel, live from 8 to 10. We'll be over there. Blitz Crew, appreciate you hanging out as always. Thank you for your support. And yes, while you're in here, if you could hit the like button, it would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to Nick's channel as well. Proud NY Jet fans. It's quality stuff. I was on the show yesterday, ton of fun over there. And even Egghead Jeremy's okay. We like him sometimes.
Yeah. You're making me talk nice about him. All right, man.
Yeah, we're gonna have to be
nice.
Now
you painted me into a corner, pal.
I know. I put you on the spot, but we'll be nice to Jeremy.
We've been getting along so well, man. Now you're my enemy.
Ryan chimes in next. He goes, I heard the Bears asking price for Mooney is higher than what teams are willing to give. That's interesting. I don't know what the asking price is. I've been, trying to find on Twitter if there's been anything about what the price for Mooney is, but if it's somewhere, as a mid-round pick, 4th, something like that, I would consider it. He was a 1,000-yard receiver a couple of years ago. I don't think he's, going to be that guy on this team, but he's a deep threat, has good hands, stretches the field. Again, all things you'd like to see from the Jets.
Yeah, you can do reverses with him. You can get him the ball on wide receiver screens. That's a guy you want to get out in space, similar to a Hollywood Brown, right? Hollywood Brown has been more productive, but the speed aspect and the ability to beat and get open on press man coverage is something we're lacking. Everybody thinks Zach's holding the ball, but some guys aren't open.
Yeah, that's true. Again, in the Giants game in particular, like I don't think it was Zach's best game. There were many factors that contributed to it, whether offensive line was in shambles. I also think the play calling and the wide receivers weren't separating. But if you're Zach's the backup quarterback right now. You just have to have like that mindset, like you're playing a backup quarterback. Forget that he was 2nd overall pick. You got to do what you can to help them out, and they do have to separate better. Unfortunately, you got called out. Please never invoke the name of Stephen Hill. Bad memories of second round picks That's strike one, Nick.
I got you. But at this point, we would love for Randall Cobb for that to be his ceiling, right? We loved Stephen Hill's floor. We would love for Randall Cobb to play that well for just one game.
Here we go. We got a history lesson here from Uncle Stavros, a little Greek. Are you ready for this? Mooney means vagina in Greek. So it's funny to me when you say the price for Mooney. Look at that. You learn more every day. I didn't know that.
I've known that back in my drinking days when I've made a call or two to some ladies of the night.
Okay, see? The price for the Mooney. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Quick refresh on Twitter. Again, we're inching closer right now. The latest is the Patriots are listening on offers for Josh Uche. I don't think they're going to trade anyone in division. Apparently no call. Albert Breer is reporting no calls on here. Why don't I just pop this on the screen? Apparently no calls on Mac Jones or Zeke Elliott. Apparently there was rumors earlier today that teams are interested in Zeke, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, that's the big news right now. It's a little quiet, which is stressing me out. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I'm getting there myself. But let's remember, there was 24 seconds left on Sunday, and we pulled a rabbit out of a hat. So maybe Joe's channeling his inner Zach Wilson.
Yeah, the heart's starting to palpitate a little bit. The refreshes are coming quicker and quicker now at this point. Can I give you? I'm gonna try to positive spin.
Hold up!
What?
I got the Jets bolstered their offensive line, signing two-time Pro Bowl guard Roger Saffold to their practice squad with the intent to promote him to the active roster, per source Schefter. Saffold last played in 2022. Joe Douglas pulled the rabbit at 24 seconds, Matt.
It's not a trade, but there's a signing. Offensive line move. Here we go. We just read it out, but we'll do it again. Jets bolstered their offensive line. They signed former Pro Bowl guard Roger Saffold to their practice squad with the intent to promote him to their active roster. Per source, Saffold played with the Bills in 2022. All right, there we go. There's one. All right. Oh, you can breathe.
I'm not getting banned from your channel for being bad luck. Thank God we got something.
There's no ban. There is even a welcome back now after that. Let's bring up Roger Saffold's numbers from the last 2 years. As mentioned, he was someone that played a lot up in Buffalo the last few years. Struggled. He wasn't very good last year. But was a steady starter previously. Here, let's share this tab. We'll do a little pull this up. All right, here is the numbers. Unfortunately, it won't let me scroll all the way down, but we're going to look at it this way. Last year, he played 1,000 snaps for Buffalo at left guard. He's pretty much exclusively been a left guard in his career. Spent time with Tennessee before that, was in LA from 2010 through 2018. Penalties were a little bit of a problem last year, 10 penalties at left guard. But again, I'm not saying you go into the season with Roger Saffold as your plan A, but when you're down to guys you're signing off the street, you could do a lot worse.
I saw somebody in the chat ask, why wait to the last minute to do this? Probably because no other trades came to surface. And that is the free agent market. Because, everyone's going to be trying to reach anyone who's looking for an offensive lineman is probably making that call. So,
yeah, that's true. Anyone who's looking for a lineman that wasn't in on the trade is going to go.
Rappaport tweets, the trade deadline is hit. No more trades.
Okay. Ian Rappaport. No more. Oh, well, I'm sharing the wrong tab now. Let's get this back. No more trades. So this is it. The Jets don't make a trade. No Dalvin Cook out. No Carl Lawson out. No Michael Carter out. And no wide receiver addition. I like that they added offensive line help. That's obviously something that they needed to do. But a little concerned about this Jets wide receiver room right now.
Agreed. I'm besides Jones or Donovan Peoples-Jones, It's not like there was wide receivers flying everywhere and we missed out, right? Like people were kind of holding on to them.
Yeah,
It's
it
not like
feels
we
that way.
got beat to the punch or outbid. It looks like, and I mean, I think we already have a Peoples Jones in Lazard, right? We got that bigger body who's. I would have liked the speed guy to add to this, to help take the pressure and help Zach find someone quick who can get open in 3-4 steps. When the pass rush or the blitz are coming, we need someone else besides Garrett who can get separation.
No, I'm with you on that one. There's a question in here. Where the hell did it go? Okay, Billy SBC wants to sign Taylor Lewan, but I've seen this a few times. I don't know if you've seen pictures of what Taylor Lewan looks like now. He is probably 75 pounds lighter than what he was playing at as a
Yeah.
tackle. I don't think he is someone you could sign and then insert into a lineup anytime soon. He's gonna have to put on about 50 pounds in 4 days, if that's the case.
I mean, I could give him some tips, but I give it a diet plan that'll help him.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, he looks very thin.
He does. He does look thin. Zach Rosenblatt covers the Jets for The Athletic, says the trade deadline is over. The Jets kept both Carl Lawson and Dalvin Cook. There ultimately was not any real league-wide interest in either. Kind of like what we were saying at the top of the show here, Nick. Like it didn't seem like either one of those guys has really put a ton on tape that makes you feel great about wanting to add them, right?
I mean, if your pro scouting department is looking at Carl Lawson and Michael Carter or Dalvin Cook, even Carter's film this year, saying we need to go get that guy, you're probably not gonna have a job long term. Let's be real. It's Cook is not what we expected. Lawson got derailed before it even left the station with the Achilles a couple years ago. Ironically, in Green Bay with Rodgers there, like it's just this Achilles. Remember a couple years ago, everybody had ACL injuries. I think we had like 10 guys with an ACL. Now we're at 3 guys actively with an Achilles. Lawson had the Achilles. Like now it's the new bug going around.
Yeah, that it was always, it always felt like it was the ACL. But now for whatever reason, it seems like the Achilles is going around. Kirk Cousins gets one this week, another one added.
Did you see how awesome he is though? That he still showed up to the Vikings like Halloween thing on the scooter. You put your knee on the scooter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He still showed up to the kid event at their practice facility to like meet and greet with kids and give candy out. Like, there's not a better human being in the NFL than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he's a good guy. That is for sure. You can't question his integrity. The guy, he's a good person. Let's go a couple more super chats. Golden Robert says, all we need to do is go empty set on 3rd and 1 with our running back getting 6.1 yards per touch. Bait fish. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the 3rd and 1 throw. I'm assuming.
Or the empty backfield.
Yeah, that's bad.
Like, why are we doing empty backfield? When you have a threat like Breece Hall, you want to throw it, give him a play action, freeze the linebackers, and now Garrett can get behind them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I would go heavy in that spot. Put 3 tight ends on the field, right?
Yeah.
Like you got them, you might as well. And like you said, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to run it every single time, but throw the ball to Conklin, throw it at Ruckert.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but have the threat there of it looks like we're just gonna smash mouth you and try to get a yard. But in a game where you lost 2 linemen, why are you going empty? You were giving up pressure left and right. It didn't make any sense to me to go empty in that.
You want to go empty? Put Borden in the backfield so he can pick up anybody who breaks through, because there's multiple people breaking through. Let him hit somebody. Let him give Zach another second.
There we go.
What happened to the power eye? Green Bay's always run a power eye with Hackett. They do the play action. They would sneak Kuntz out into the flat and dump it off to him. Like, you haven't seen that at all with Borden. Like, get in Denver. We broke the 70-yard touchdown run with Borden in the backfield. Let's get back to that and not just run our running backs with 7 yards deep into a line that isn't gelling right now.
Yeah, he didn't play. I want to look at his snaps. He played 6 snaps against the Giants. Borden. That's not enough. If you're going to carry the fullback, use him, man.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Doug chimes in, says Team Nani or Team Boy Green with his $2 super chat. Exciting day on Jets Twitter today.
Yeah, fireworks.
Fireworks. We could leave it there. We don't have to pick sides today.
That's it.
Yeah, we don't have to pick sides. So it seems like Roger Saffold is going to be the Jets' lone addition. He was signed to the practice squad. They have the, I don't know what the ability or the want, I guess, to bump him up there. And this is a good point. Will Parkinson tweeted this out, but it's a good point. So I'll pop this up on the screen. He's familiar with offensive line coach Keith Carter and has started 173 games in the NFL over 13 years in his career. Would expect him to be playing rather quickly for the Jets. I'm there too. I don't think he's going to start this week. I think that's a really tough ask, but who knows? Maybe the following week on the road in Vegas is the time we could see him.
Yeah, and if he's going to stay at guard, I mean, it kind of solidifies Tidman going to center when he comes back, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I hope the Jets get Tittman back sooner rather than later. That's something else too that I'm holding out hope for, that maybe this is, the lack of a bigger move indicates that he's quicker to returning than maybe some anticipated initially, which would be huge for this team because, thank you to Xavier Newman for coming in a pinch. Like, we obviously appreciate that, but I don't think that's your long-term answer the rest of this season.
Agreed. I mean, it's not a bad backup to a backup to a backup as a swing center guard, as we saw, but I don't think anyone's going all in on the Newman train. Nice work. Way to step up in the clutch, but you can't go on a playoff run and have him in the front five, right?
Yeah.
If you got to do it one more week before Tittman comes back, I get it. But it's Tittman's show, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. Paul asks, potential for a Corey Davis reunion. Now, that would be something that would be exciting, I think, for this team. I don't know how likely it is for him to come back. I know that the Jets were very careful with the terminology with him. That it wasn't he's retiring, it's he's stepping away from football. So maybe that opens things up for a potential return. They could use another sure-handed receiver, though. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I tweeted that last week that Corey Davis coming back to football would be an unsung, amazing trade deadline acquisition, right? Or even after the trade deadline now, that and it's been mum's the word, right? Like, we don't know anything about it. Like, everything has been kept quiet. There's been no leaks. There's been no a source told me, there's been nothing. So, maybe it's something really serious on the family side that everyone is just like, we're not even going to mention it publicly.
Yeah, obviously hope everything's well with him. Hennessy Heisman chimes in. This is why I wanted JSN at pick 15 on draft day. Well, Hennessy was definitely not alone in that. When the Jets were on the clock, I don't think anyone was expecting Will McDonald to come off the board at pick 15. I know I wasn't. That's for sure.
No, I don't even think Will McDonald expected it.
No. In every mock draft I saw, he was going like 30 plus.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a big surprise. And, I really don't think they were expecting Corey Davis to step away. He stepped away. What was it? 2 weeks before the season started?
Right. Like, he did a couple training camps. Yeah. He was in training camp and all of a sudden he was like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah. It stinks. And
let's add to this though.
Yeah,
JSN wasn't jumping over the center and guard to affect the field goal. So we got to win indirectly through Will McDonald's abilities.
True. I am not. I wasn't banging the drum for Will McDonald to be the pick at 15, but I'm also at the same time, I'm not going to be completely out on it yet. I think that he is a talented and speedy guy that they could have coming off the edge. And like we talked a lot about Carl Lawson today, I don't think he's coming back next year. And you could do a hell of a lot worse than, hopefully Huff, McDonald, and Jermaine Johnson as your edge rushers. So I think
we got some Jets moves from Jets Twitter, if you want to pull it up.
Okay.
They placed Connor McGovern, Wes Schweitzer, and Al Woods on IR. They signed Tanzel Smart and Dennis Kelly to the active roster. And they signed Jalen Holmes and Roger Saffold to the practice squad.
Okay, there we go.
So maintenance being done.
Yeah, some maintenance now being done. McGovern and Schweitzer to IR. We knew, and Al Woods. Al Woods' season's over, though. He has no chance of coming back with the torn Achilles. Robert Saleh said that in the press conference yesterday. McGovern and Schweitzer will miss the next 4 games, this means, and then they will have the opportunity to return after that. Tanzel Smart and Jalen Holmes too, to be honest with you, but both positions, right? Of adding on the defensive line after losing Al Woods. Smart coming up from the practice squad, I feel like makes a lot of sense here. He was with the team in training camp. The team loves him. We saw it on Hard Knocks. They absolutely, love the guy. I just don't. I don't know if he's a 1-for-1 swap with Al Woods. He's not exactly the same kind of player stylistically that Woods is.
And Dennis Kelly's a tackle. I thought he'd be interior.
Okay.
Moving him up to the active roster, but he's listed as a tackle.
Interesting. So maybe that could be one, they don't have anybody else, or number 2, that they're confident in Joe Tippmann being able to come back and play.
Oh, wait, there's a different. Hold on. That's not. That might be a different Dennis Kelly. That's a Colt.
Okay. Jalen Holmes, Roger Saffold, though, I would imagine once he gets ramped up, they're gonna activate him. Billy Turner is someone who can play guard as well. He's more of a tackle, but he did come in and play right guard after they moved Newman over. So some corresponding Jets moves, not really all too surprising to see those moves come to fruition.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing, right? Even with the acquisition, we felt like there was more to do, but we already gave up. I'll look at it from the other side, right? I'll be positive, Nick, that everyone picks on for always being positive. We already gave up a future number 2. We know how much Joe Douglas values his draft picks. Maybe they were trying to move Lawson and do one of those moves where we'll give you a player and a pick for a player and a pick, and it just didn't come to fruition. I think if we have our number 2, I mean, you look at it that way. If we have our number 2, we don't have Rodgers. So if we have our number 2, maybe they would have been more likely to make a deal and give up a pick. But already losing a number 2 pick in this draft, I think maybe had a factor in it. Just spitballing, thinking out loud.
No, I'm with you on that. I do think that makes sense here. And something else too that was jumping out to me while we're going through this. One is the draft pick. Obviously, they don't want to give up with the draft pick. The other is they also have, not that we necessarily want him to come back into the lineup, but Dwayne Brown could come back off of IR. They could look to add him back even this week. They could do that tomorrow still. I was almost surprised that they didn't mention that. But then that's just another, body kind of in that Roger Saffold fold where you can play him if need be, kind of a thing.
And Joe Douglas will be at the mic shortly. Zach Rosenblatt just tweeted that out. He'll be speaking in a few to the media.
Okay. So hopefully, we're still on here when Joe Douglas does. Won't be able to pull up the full video because I'm not trying to get hit with the demonetized and the copyright, but I will bring up any tweets that stay, that stay
I
relevant.
get Samini, Zach, and Connor. So
perfect.
We'll have everything. We'll have all the info coming in as he's still finishing his sentence. They tweet it out.
Yep.
That's one of the most annoying things of the press conference is hearing all the keyboards.
Yeah, and they all tweet the same thing at the same time. I don't blame them for that. They're all trying to do their jobs, but you do in the background, you hear the clicking.
Yeah, you hear all the typing on the MacBooks.
The Jet Press just tweeted this out, and let's pull this up because I agree with this. But he says, unless there's another move that is being made, the Jets offensive line will probably look like this on Monday. Becton at left tackle, Tomlinson at left guard, Newman at center, Turner at right guard, Mitchell at right tackle. That sounds about right for right now, I would say. Correct?
Yeah. And one of the things to factor in with Tippmann, it'll be a short week coming back for the Raider game. So maybe they hold him out Monday if it's in question and just say, all right, we'll get you one more week, because you don't want him to come back. Like we said yesterday, you don't want him to come back, not be 100, and then you're planting all day on that quad blocking people, and it gets worse. You want to make sure that's in the clear before you throw him back into the fire, especially with how good he's been. Like, we need him to be him.
Yeah, they do. They can't afford to, like you said, they can't bring him back and then 3 plays in, he's right back out again. Then really screwed at that.
That would be a huge disservice to him, to us, to the team, to everybody, to throw him into the fire when he's not ready.
No, exactly. Patrick chimes in. He says, can see the value in keeping Lawson if they plan on playing him based on edge trades today. I can't imagine they would have gotten more than a fifth. Yeah, with some of the moves that were going around. Well, one, we thought it would be hard to get really much for Carl Lawson anyway. Kind of felt like it would be one of those pick swap scenarios. But yeah, if Chase Young's going for a third, man, what the hell is Carl Lawson going to go for in a trade? I guess nothing.
A bag of candy corn today.
Yeah, overrated candy, by the way. I am not team candy.
Matt, so divisive, dude.
You're a candy corn guy?
I'm a diabetic, so I am a former candy corn guy, but it probably contributed to my diabetes. But yes, I was a candy corn guy.
Okay, quick before we get back to it.
Yeah,
candy corn divisive. Marshmallow Peeps, yes or no?
Yeah, but they have to be stale.
Okay.
The fresh ones, it's like they go too quick. Like my buddy years ago taught me, you pop the packaging open, you let it get stale, and then you could enjoy it for longer. And then it softens. Yeah, that's been my trick for it.
We're 0 for 2 on candy.
I know.
I'm not a fan.
I'm 45 and diabetic. Do not take any diet advice from me, Matt. Whatever path you're on, stay on, brother.
I love it.
But Reese's peanut butter cups, top of the food chain.
Oh, the best. Okay, now you're back on track here. Boycott activity says Newman was a disaster. There's got to be another option. Newman also kind of saved the game there a little bit. Well, I understand that they let some pressures in, and Dexter Lawrence had 15 in the game, like some just absolutely unbelievable number. But the guy was not expected to play. He was elevated off the practice squad, like what, 12 hours, 24 hours before the game, and now is snapping the ball for the first time. I think we got to cut him some slack here.
Yeah, I think he adapted nicely after that. Some people can go in, have that aw shucks moment of like failure, and then it domino effects. And I think he rebounded nicely. But let's be real. Lawrence had pressures against everybody. It's not like he picked on Newman for the whole second half, right? He got pressures against every single one of our offensive linemen.
Yeah, even it was a bummer because he's been playing better recently. Laken Tomlinson, I thought, had a rough game against the Giants. And, when you have a game that features so many injuries on the offensive line, right? Like you lose your center and your right guard, you kind of would hope that the two veterans or the two guys you would, on that left side, and Becton and Tomlinson would be able to hold up and hold down the fort. But I thought they both struggled and probably played one of their worst games of the year, which kind of just compounded and, made the passing game look the way that it did.
Yeah. I think when you look at Zach, there were some times where we saw Zach from year 1 and 2 where he got happy feet when there was no pressure there because he expected there to be pressure. I think when he was getting the ball out quick and on time, he looked good. Another game with no interceptions. We weren't saying that very much the first couple of years, but I think there is an evolution to Zach. And I know it's not top 5 Joe Burrow, type of progression, but from where he was in the New England game last year to where he is now, I think he's shown huge leaps. Let's not forget, he wasn't supposed to play for 2 or 3 years. Yeah. He was supposed to be in the meeting room week in and week out with Rodgers, seeing the film breakdown, living in Rodgers' mind, being a sponge. That got taken away from him too. Yeah. So to go where he was really without that mentoring to see where he is now, I think it's a lot to be said positive about him.
Jin asks, how many penalty yards versus the Giants on Sunday? It was ugly. It was 9 penalties for 85 yards. The Giants had 6 for 73. Not the cleanest game for either team. And, going into this game, the Jets were actually in the top 10 for least penalized team. So it's not like this is normally a problem for them, but that one drive in particular where you have the 2 personal fouls, extend it, and the Giants end up going down and scoring 7. That was
Yeah.
tough.
The game should have ended 7-6. They should have kicked the field goal there, but JJ extended it. The game should have ended 7-6. So it's kind of like Thibodeau and Johnson, 2 defensive ends taken in the same draft. Where like, no, you take it. No, I'll mess it up later. We'll give it back to you. Don't worry. So
Yeah,
those 2 penalties helped us greatly.
Exactly. Green and White Militia says, I refuse to get mad at this. Every time we immediately overreact to something that JD hasn't done or has done, the exact opposite of our frustrations happen. So Green and White is trying to keep the positive here. Yeah, are you there too as well, Nick?
I say all the time, I trust in Joe D. I trust in Joe D. I'm not getting mad at it. There are guys coming back. You know, you're going to make a big move, and then you have Tittman. If Tittman was out long term, I think there's more of a pressing need, right? But with Tittman hopefully coming back this week or the following week, I think it's the overreactive Jets fans, which there are a large portion of.
Jiggaman chimes in. I'm honestly not upset about no moves right now. Just made so much sense that nothing was going to happen. Did not have hopes up at all. No anger towards JD.
That's my boy Porto. That's a good dude right there.
He's the best. Make sure to go follow his stuff up with the Brew Crew Sports.
Morning Brew,
Morning Brew,
I believe.
We got all kinds of brews going on. Knicks brews, Jets brews. Everybody's brewing over there. The Brew Crew Sports, love it. I'm not gonna lie, a little nervous about the wide receiver position, especially God forbid we're not gonna bring up the I word. We can't. We won't say it. But it's one snap away from being really bad. Like really, really tough.
We'll word it this way: there's a lot of concern, and all the main guys are healthy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of concern as is.
God forbid something happens there. Golden is back. Says we need to use motion and bootleg with Zach Lazard. 19% pass drop. Yeah, I'm I was really upset with Allen Lazard's game against the Giants. He dropped a really beautiful pass from Zach Wilson where he stepped up in the pocket, delivered a nice ball. It was going out towards the sideline. It was on the left side. And that drop rate is too high. Lazard does, some other things well. He's a good blocker. I liked the addition as a, second or third receiver, assuming there was going to be other weapons in that wide receiver room. But with it just being essentially only him and Garrett Wilson, like this is not a recipe for success there. Motion, I'm always a big fan of using motion. I think that helps the young quarterback, especially because you got to see what kind of defense they're in, zone or man. And on the bootleg, we saw one of the best plays from Zach Wilson in this game too, was him rolling out to the right. So I agree with Golden. Are you the same way here?
I've been screaming for that since the minute Aaron went down, that Zach's athleticism needs to be utilized as a strength. It needs to, we need to use the threat of we're going to run the ball so much to open up the play action, create for Zach, get him out in the open where you got guys running across on tiered routes where you can dump off underneath or hit downfield, whatever's open. Plus, he has the ability to run it. If they're playing man, they turn their backs and they go upfield. Zach can break off for a run. So I'm always looking at screw the system, build the system to what you have in the room. You don't have Rodgers anymore. So you got to key to your system a little bit to fit Zach's strengths, and his mobility is his greatest strength. Arm strength downfield and Zach's mobility should be two of the big things that we incorporate into the passing attack.
I'm with you there. I thought this game in particular was a really bad Nathaniel Hackett game plan day. I didn't like their plan at all, which was a kind of concerning because I thought, the games prior, 2 out of the last 3 games, I thought his game plan was actually okay. Against the Chiefs, I liked that they were more aggressive. And against the Broncos, I thought, not the Broncos, excuse me, the Eagles, I thought they had a pretty good game plan offensively. They had to settle for a lot of threes in that game against the Eagles. The red zone efficiency was just really bad. But this one, it kind of it reminded me back of the early season Jets offense and their struggles. It was very, very predictable. I thought, and obviously the offensive line went back to really, really struggling before in week 1 and week 2, before they brought in Tippmann and before they kind of settled down from week 3 to week 6. So hopefully that gets back on track, but I am totally in on using more motion. I think that would be wise for the Jets to do.
Hey, Schefter put out 2 good tweets in a row. One was players who got moved, and the other one was players, despite any speculation, did not get moved. I thought that was an interesting 2 lists to bring up.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's pop those up. So we
And
got.
here is, sorry, real quick.
Mhm.
Douglas is at the mic. Zach Rosenblatt says Douglas said, quote, a lot of calls, a lot of conversations. Ultimately, we only did one trade, sending Hardman. Obviously, there needs to be buyers, needs to be sellers. We made a lot of inquiries. Ultimately, we didn't get any deals done, end quote.
Okay, let's pull that one up. Let's go Rosenblatt first, because they're going to be retweeting the stuff out here now. Yeah, the only move then is trading off a Hardman for a late swap. Yeah, not a unsurprising answer, right? Like this feels like something that he would absolutely come out and say.
It sounds like what we said earlier. So we're school. We're ready to be GMs, man.
Yeah, it feels that way. Let's go back to. Sorry, I want to go back to Schefter now, and then we'll work our way.
Okay.
Back to the Jets stuff, but that is exactly the kind of the same path that we were on from earlier. Okay, here we go. The final tally: Chase Young goes to San Francisco, Montez Sweat to Chicago, Leonard Williams to Seattle, old friend of the show, Kevin Byard to Philly, Ezra Cleveland, Jacksonville, Joshua Dobbs, Minnesota, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Detroit, Douglas gets moved to Buffalo, Street gets moved to Atlanta, Hardman, there you go, Kansas City, Gregory, San Francisco, J.C. Jackson, New England, Chase Claypool, Miami, Van Jefferson, Atlanta, Cam Akers, Minnesota. Not a lot of big names in there, Nick.
No. They're the bigger names are the ones that didn't get moved, obviously, right? But the guys who there was speculation to. There you go.
Here we go. Yeah, Adams, Burns, Barkley, Hunter, Henry, Judy, Surtain, Cortland Sutton, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, DeAndre Hopkins, Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Brissett, Carl Lawson. Yeah, I think more people were hoping that these would be the names that we saw moved instead of some of the other names that ended up actually getting moved.
Interesting tweet from Samini. Right now, they don't have a center on the roster. Newman Johnson reverted to the practice squad. Worried? Nah. They have 6 days until they play. Suspect Tippmann might be ready.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's pull that up and get into that. I would really, really hope that's the best case. Let's start here. That's the best case scenario, right? That Joe Tippmann is healthy and is coming back ready to play. Newman obviously served a purpose and, had a really big play in the game, helped them win that game. If they don't set the ball and spike it right then and there, they don't get an opportunity.
And setting it correctly is more important.
Right. Exactly.
Because the Cowboys playoff game, they were 2 yards off. That's why the ref had to move the ball. Newman looked to the side, got it right where it needed to be. That's why the ref didn't need to adjust it.
Exactly. And I don't understand why that was so hard for people to understand. Like, the ref could have moved the ball. If it was anywhere else, right, a yard ahead, a yard back, they could have at the end went, hold on, no, and moved it and then reset it and got out of there. But Newman put the ball down in the perfect spot. So shout out to him. But Joe Tippmann coming back and being able to play center would be a really big saving grace for this team. It really would.
Yeah. It's your show. I want to give you the honor of reading this. Pull up Zach Rosenblatt's latest tweet.
Oh, okay.
Quote from Joe Douglas, and I don't want to steal the thunder on your show. You are the great Matt O'Leary. This one's all you, pal.
Whoa. Okay, here we go. Joe Douglas on the prospect of Aaron Rodgers coming back this season. We're expecting Aaron to be back. Holy mother of God, baby. Aaron Rodgers back this year. We're expecting him back.
That's the respect I have for you. I let you read
you are a good man. You're a guest that is welcome with an open invitation.
Thank you.
Wow. For him to actually say that, this is the first time that they're putting that expectation out there, right?
Best trade deadline ever, Jets fans.
Let's go. Wow. That's unbelievable.
And now nobody will care that he didn't make a move. That'll be the headline, right?
Yeah. Wow. Holy shit. Was not expecting that.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, don't do this to me. Now what?
Go to Zach's latest tweet. He clarified after a couple. I'll read this. It's negative. I'll take the negative one.
Okay, yeah.
Joe Douglas just clarified after a couple follow-ups. He meant he's expecting Aaron Rodgers to be back with the team, not necessarily playing, leaving that up to the doctors.
Oh, my Joe Douglas, you son of a bitch rat bastard. How are you doing?
I'll see myself out. I'm sorry. I'll see myself out, buddy. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Well, okay, here's the follow-up.
Damn it.
All right, the follow-up. Joe Douglas clarified he meant after a couple follow-ups, he meant he's expecting Aaron Rodgers to be back with the team, not necessarily playing, leaving all that up to the doctor.
How about the tweet on the bottom, the clown? That's a good roast.
For Halloween this year, I dressed up as Connor Houston. I love their back and forth. The clarification. No. Oh, that was a real kick in the nuts.
And Rappaport already retweeted it with we're expecting Aaron to be back. So Rappaport is going to have to send the clarification any second.
Oh, my God.
Listen, we're 4-3 with Zach Wilson, right?
You just got to keep it afloat until he's ready.
How many people wrote us off? How many Jets fans wrote the season off as soon as Zach got the quarterback position back? You know, this is a good team. And we get Rodgers back, and we're near 500, maybe a little bit above it. Who knows, man?
No, I'm with you there. You just got to keep this thing afloat and keep the ship steady, which is why right now is so important, because over the next you got the Chargers game coming up on Monday night. It's, that should be, a good game. And then you have the Raiders after that, 2 divisional opponents. Like the Chargers and the Raiders, they're struggling and a little bit under them in the standings, but those are 2 teams that are fighting for playoff spots. You got divisional games after that. These are huge.
Yeah. I mean, you got the AFC games. You got 4 AFC games in a row. This is where it's make or break, right? This is the biggest stretch of our season, in my opinion. Chargers are right there in the mix. Wild card, you need the head-to-head win over them. You got to beat the Raiders on the road, and then you go into Buffalo. And if everything goes according to my calculations and my crystal ball that I have, we're going into Buffalo playing for first place.
I hope so.
Because I think Cincinnati beats Buffalo this week. I think, Cincinnati plays Buffalo, and Kansas City plays Miami. They can both catch L's, and if we beat both of them, the division's ours.
Yeah, it's important, a very, very important stretch of games.
Just keep stacking wins, man, and let everything else happen.
And
find a way to win games. There's no style points. Everybody wants to watch the 85 Niners or the 85 Bears and win games 42-6. We're not doing that. We're a gritty team who's going to compete for 60 minutes or more. It's the recipe for the Jets winning is going to overtime. We're 2-0 in overtime.
2-0 in overtime.
So just who would have thought? But just keep grinding. Grind each week. Looking ahead to this week with the Chargers, their offense plays to our strength. They like to throw the ball downfield, which means what? We got Sauce and Reed.
And the pass rush.
The pass rush. You want to throw 35-yard passes? You got to block long enough to throw 35, 40-yard passes, right?
Good luck.
So it could be exciting, man. I think that, and I think I'll go on record as saying that Zach pops 300 this week.
I like that.
They're averaging, giving up, I think, 302 a game.
So we will.
They're the worst pass defense in the NFL. If you're going to do it now.
We will pull up those numbers after wanted to pull up this quote from Joe Douglas. The last few years have been hard. We've gone through a lot of starting combinations. It's a credit to Keith Carter and our entire staff for developing these players and getting them ready to play each Sunday. They have gotten through a lot of different iterations on this line. I don't think they were anticipating to get down to having Newman come in and play center for them this year. He was they're probably going into training camp. Their 4th, 5th center, somewhere around there, or not even. He's a guard that had to come in emergency.
Yeah.
Let's pull up the
It got to the point Sunday where you were just hoping after every play, everybody stood up and there was no flag on the field. Like, that's where you just can we just not commit any more stupid penalties, and can everybody stand up and go back to the huddle? Like, that's how bad the game was performance-wise. You just wanted health.
Yes. Absolutely. Let's pull it up. This is the Chargers rankings. They are 32nd worst in the NFL in passing yards allowed. They've allowed 2,082 in 7 games, which is 297 yards against on average. If there was ever an opportunity for a bounce back game for this passing offense, no excuse this week, right?
This is it, right? This is the game you look at. I think I pulled the stats up before yesterday's game. That's why they came down a little bit, but they were above 300 yesterday. This is it, man. This is where, and there's some good signs. You know, they don't have that speed rusher. You know, speed rushers have given Becton a problem. Mack is more of a power at this point, and Bosa's got some power too. So I think that helps us that they don't have that young Thibodeau speed coming off the edge, which clearly gave Becton some issues, and Mitchell as well. So hopefully they can keep him clean, and Zach can get the ball to Garrett, because Garrett can get open in that secondary, man, and take it.
Yeah, I really hope that's the case. And I believe it was his rookie. Yeah, it must have been. That was the only time he played. In Becton's rookie year, he held his own against Bosa in that game with were they? No, they were in LA at that point. Against the Chargers with Joe Flacco starting.
Interesting tweet. We'll keep going on the Chargers. Not that I'm telling you what to do, but Zach said, Joe Douglas has said Bryce Huff and the Jets have had some informal conversations about an extension. Joe said that there's been progress made.
Yeah, they're effing better. They're effing better. B, like, this is someone you gotta keep him around. I get it. They use first round picks on edge rushers the last couple of years. And I understand maybe he wasn't a part of their original play. He is too good to let go. He every single week he's racking up the pressures. He's getting after the quarterback. The sacks are starting to come now. He's too good not to have on this team. He's their best edge rusher, even over the first round picks.
Any concern? I'll throw you a question. Any concern with the Rashawn Gary contract that came out? 4 for 96 yesterday. He's only got 27.5 career sacks.
That's a lot of money. But I think that's do you think it's going to get over 20 million? Do you think it's going to be $20 million a year?
I thought 14, like 12 to 15 in that range would be good for Huff, but I think Huff's betting on himself, and the longer it takes, I think the more he makes, right?
Yeah,
it's not an easy cop out, but he's ascending so quickly week after week. Let's not forget, they didn't throw the ball in the second half.
Yeah.
He would have had a 3-4 sack game if they had to throw the ball in that game. Him and JJ were just living back there with Taylor.
Yeah, that made a big difference, because they stopped throwing the football in the second half of that game.
I hope the kid makes a ton of money Monday night. I hope he has a 3-sack game. I'm all for him elevating. I'm all for it. It only makes us better.
The price tag, as you mentioned, you're 100% spot on. The price tag only continues to go up for Bryce Huff. But I am glad that they've had some discussions about it, because they need. This is someone that they need to bring back. Homegrown talent. He's gotten better. Just make it happen.
He's gotten bigger. He hasn't lost his speed, getting bigger. He plays the run better. He's not elite, but he's good enough to be a 3-down end. He was a spy in one of the games. Like, his value to our defense, there's a lot. And he's not even done yet. I have no issue with him and JJ being our 1-2 edge going forward, with McDonald doing what Huff did, being the third guy, being the pass rush specialist until he fully develops.
Right. And that's like, there's
and
role.
JFM's still there too. Forgive me.
Yeah. By the way, is JFM still, even all these years later, the most underrated player on this team? He might be.
He's the guy that does all of the right things that show up great on film, but not in the stat sheet, right? He'll get his stats here and there, but he is just the ultimate team player. He'll do whatever he has to do and whatever is asked of him, and always do it with a smile on his face and knowing that it helps the team. Like, I'm a huge fan of his. I know people like, oh, he only has this many sacks, but he's helping other people get sacks. This whole front is about everybody doing their job, whatever that play call is, to help one another get home.
Absolutely. Apparently we have a quote on why Dalvin Cook and Carl Lawson weren't moved. Joe Douglas, when asked about Dalvin Cook and Carl Lawson being traded, he said, "We had talks with a lot of teams, but nothing materialized." Douglas also said both Cook and Lawson are assets. They will need them down the stretch. Cook, I think, is going to continue to be active. I know his role is, diminished now at this point. He's not having the same amount of carries he was in the first few weeks. But for Carl Lawson, I'm not convinced that he's someone who should be active on game days with some of their other defensive linemen that they could rotate in.
Yeah, and McDonald's shown his value on special teams.
Yeah.
Lawson's not doing special teams. He's not running down on kickoffs or jumping over a D line to try to block a kick.
No, yeah,
I think Will is starting to find his role with the team, and they're finding out what he can do. And he's getting a little. I don't know his snap count this week, but I saw him out there. But don't forget, they were running the ball the whole second half, so that negates Will McDonald's strength. You're not putting Will McDonald out there to play the run.
No, not at this point. Yeah, Will McDonald, he only 6 snaps, so 9%. But as you said, they weren't passing the ball in the entire second half. That kind of changes a lot of things there for this defense and for the team at that point. So wasn't really surprised at all to see, 6 snaps. Yeah, that's not surprising. But special teams made a play on specials. That's going to get you in the good graces of the coaching staff.
100%.
As Jin points out, the jumping play by McDonald was huge. That helped. I mean, I don't know if he got a hand on it, but he definitely altered the kick there. It was, it was from short yardage too. It's one that Gano usually makes.
Yeah.
Well, the weather played a factor too, but that was big.
And can you imagine if the Jets did what the Giants did with not having a bat? Like we have Tim Boyle, right? He's a veteran in the league. He's played. And we've sent out Zuerlein with a bad knee to still be the kicker, and we lose the game because we weren't prepared for that. Like Giants fan base is going nuts right now about the GM. Like, how do you go into a game with that as your your first plan?
Yeah,
that's how the pieces.
I don't know. Joe Douglas, another quote that I enjoyed. Said that they probably have the best kicker and punter combination with Zuerlein and Morstead. I see no lies detected here, Nick.
Great segue too. Yeah. Mentioning the kicker, going right into that. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, find the better combo. I don't ever remember. I'm 45. I don't ever remember seeing a punter put 3 inside the 5-yard line.
No,
granted, I haven't seen 24 punts in a game very often, so the opportunities were there much more.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I hate that they have to use him as much as they do, but he is responsible for probably 2 wins this year. I would say the one against the Giants, he pinned him down inside the 5 3 times. He also, in the game against both Denver and Kansas City, had punts that pinned the opponent deep, and they got safeties out of it. So they got points off of these punts. He's playing out of his mind. And Zuerlein's been really a steady kicker as well, after a few years of just going through rotations of these no-name guys at kicker.
And he's pretty much money.
Yeah.
He's been phenomenal, man.
Yeah, just doing some final refreshes here on Twitter. Joe Douglas at the podium, so talking about why they didn't really make moves. There was, a lot of calls, but no one was really too interested in, making moves for either Carl Lawson or Joe Douglas, Joe Douglas. I'm reading a Joe Douglas quote that I'm going to pop up. Carl Lawson or the running back Dalvin Cook. But Joe Douglas was asked here on the deadline attempts to acquire a receiver. We made a lot of calls on a lot of different positions. It takes 2 to tango. We didn't get a lot of deals done. This is again, like it feels like he's just repeating himself, but kind of expect an answer like this.
Yeah, it could be people wanted to rake him over to Coles, and we know Douglas is not going to get taken advantage of.
No.
We know he's going to be smart. He's going to protect his assets, and if it's the right move for the Jets, he's going to do it. He's never going to be the one who gets fleeced.
No.
So it's a good sign that he's not. We don't want him to make a move out of desperation. That's an overpay because fans will lose their minds over that. So factor that in with your judgment of Joe.
No, 100%. Absolutely. All right. So that seems like that's about wrapping it up. Joe Douglas is saying kind of the same things, but no move was made. Overall thoughts on just bringing in Roger Saffold, no wide receiver, no nothing else, but Roger Saffold, the latest member of the New York Jets. What do you think, Nick?
I said earlier when it first happened, my first thought, I'll stick with it. My initial thoughts are still the same, that he did it at 3:58, meaning that they tried, nothing came to fruition, and they had this on the back burner. Maybe they had reached out to him earlier in the week, the day, and said, we have an agreement with you. We're going to try to make a move. If it doesn't come to fruition, let's go. And it happened because you announced that right at the deadline. You tried all other options, right?
Exactly.
He said it. He was making calls. Nothing came through. All right, we have this as our fallback plan. I think it's a pretty good fallback plan. It's a guy who's a veteran. It's a guy who's got a lot of playing experience in the league. We're not rolling the dice on a guy who's never played, and we're hoping. I mean, you know what you're getting with Saffold. You're getting a physical guy. You're getting a guy who's good in the run game. Now you're adding Tittman and Saffold back together in the run. And Mitchell did well in the run, too. Brees's long run was because of Mitchell and Tittman both checking down together and blocking inside. I expected when they get their chemistry together, this run game to really be more consistent instead of 120 one week, 40 the next week. I expected to be more of a constant success in the run game. And I think Saffold will lead to that, man. I really do.
I hope so. I am choosing to believe that the reason they weren't more aggressive is because Joe Tittman's going to be back this week. That is my thought on it. I hope they're not rushing him back. I hope he's just, healthy and good to go. We had the quotes last week from Robert Saleh saying that he's a fast healer, quick healer. So hopefully he is good to go on Monday Night Football. Before we get out of here, just wanted to mention again, make sure to follow along with Nick's channel. Drop it one more time. Where can they find your stuff?
Proud New York Jets fans. If you Google it, search it on YouTube, you'll see my pretty face pop up. Might be a bigger beard, but it's coming back. And I do Victory Monday shows after every win. You joined us yesterday with me and Jets Chaos. Wednesday night at 8:00, I'm on Jets Chaos channel. We do the Pride and Chaos show, and popping up wherever. Friday night, we do a Friday night hangout on my show. It's more laid back and more pop culture and other things pop up. It's just friends hanging out, talking Jets, talking football, talking life. But yeah, man, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to Nick for joining us today. For Nick, I am Matt O'Leary. Thank you for tuning in. Before you go, leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.